I never expected to fall for my nanny until I discovered the heartbreaking secret she was hiding. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun felt too bright, too harsh as I stood in the hallway, my chest tight and my heart pounding. She was standing there, my nanny, with tears streaming down her cheeks, her hands trembling as she clutched the letter, the paper crumpled like her dream was. Her name was Ella. She had this way of making the world softer with just a smile. Her laughter danced in the air, full of light, illuminating the corners of my darkened life after my parents' divorce. She was my refuge, the one who made my soul feel warm again amidst the chaos. But on that day, her face was ashen, haunted by a shadow that I could not understand. There was something unusual about her, something that had always drawn me in, like a flower beckoning a curious bee. She often stared out the window, a distant look swelling in her eyes, as if she were waiting for a storm that never came. I used to think she was just lost in thought, caught in her own whirlwind of memories. But now, standing before me, I could see the fear and despair etched into her every feature. The letter. A glimpse of the betrayal swirling in the air. "I wish I could tell you everything," she whispered, but her voice was so small. I couldn't breathe as the silence stretched between us like an unbridgeable chasm. What could possibly be hidden in the heart of the one person who always seemed to know how to mend my jagged edges? I felt like a pawn in a game I hadn't agreed to play. My mind raced. The strange phone calls, the midnight whispers, the time she would disappear for hours without explanation, it all clicked into place. Her secret had its claws deep in the fabric of our lives, twisting everything into something unrecognizable. "What are you hiding, Ella?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. I could feel the room shrinking, walls inching closer, suffocating us both. She looked away, biting her lip, as if admitting it would unravel her completely. A tear fell silently onto the letter, making the ink bleed, and I was sure it was a reflection of her heart. The air turned thick with unspoken words, like a storm gathering on the horizon. My hand shook, a painful reminder that I was losing her to something much bigger than either of us. She was my anchor. But what if she was a ship lost at sea, unable to find her way back? The image struck my chest, sharp like a knife. Suddenly, everything around me faded, the colors dulling, leaving nothing but the sound of my heart thrumming loudly in my ears. Would I have to let her go? Just as I was about to reach for her, to grasp her hand tightly and tell her it would be okay, she took a step back. I can't stay," she whispered, her voice cracking. I felt the ground give way beneath me. Everything we had built, the laughter, the comfort, the undeniable bond, crumbled into dust. My heart raced, the world spinning out of control. "Why?" The desperation in my voice echoed off the walls. But all she did was shake her head, her mouth moving but no words came out. It felt like a scream trapped in my throat. Then, just as the silence threatened to engulf us, she pulled out a small, sparkly object from her pocket. "A key?" My eyes widened in disbelief. "What is this?" Her gaze searched my face, filled with an urgency I hadn't seen before. "It's a key to my past and it changes everything." I was left standing there, breathless. Everything we were, everything we could be, hinged on that secret. And just like that, I was faced with a choice: push her away or dive deeper into the mystery that could either destroy me or bring us closer together. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The next few days blurred together, each moment punctuated by an ache I couldn't decipher. The walls of my home felt like they were closing in, the laughter that once echoed off them now replaced by the heavy silence that lingered in Ella's absence. I moved through the motions of life, attending school and pretending to engage with friends, but my mind raced back to that heart-wrenching conversation the moment everything hung in the balance on the edge of a keyed. I found myself roaming the empty house, staring out the same window where Ella seemed lost in thought. I searched for any sign of her, clinging to memories of her soft words and tender touch. It was maddening. Each shadow seemed to bear her name, each gust of wind whispered tales I longed to hear. Her warmth was a ghost now, haunting all the spaces we had filled with conversation and laughter. It was late one night when I finally found the courage to confront the questions that gnawed at me. I had avoided the letter, the weight of the unknown too painful to bear, but destiny had its way of leading you toward truth. I took a deep breath and pulled it from beneath my pillow where I had hidden it like a shameful secret. The ink was smudged, but I forced myself to read it again, a name, a date, the promises now turned unrecognizable. I pressed the letter against my chest, willing Ella's essence to return, to fill the emptiness. Maybe it was time to unlock the door she had closed behind her. I grabbed my phone, heart racing as I searched for the number she had called from that night she slipped away, desperately hoping it would lead me to her. I found it there, in the call log, burning like a beacon in my mind. I hesitated, uncertainty binding my fingers. Would she hate me for reaching out? Would it push her further away? And yet, I pressed call. It rang once, twice until her voice broke through, shaky yet familiar. Hello? Ella. The word burst from my lips like a plea, both hopeful and terrified. Oh, she sounded surprised, caught off guard. The crack in her voice mirrored the fissures in my soul. I thought you wouldn't want to talk to me. I need to talk to you, I insisted, the urgency spiraling out of control. I can't just let you go without knowing what this is about. Silence stretched between us, and my heart drummed a frantic beat as I waited for her response. She finally spoke, her voice trembling. You don't understand. I can't tell you the truth, I can't. It changes everything. Then let me in, I begged. Please. Just share this burden. I can't because I won't let you get hurt. Not again. Her voice broke, and I imagined the tears rolling down her face. But I'm already hurting. Just knowing you're out there, hiding yourself away, it's unbearable. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage I had. I care about you, Ella. More than you know. With that admission hung in the air, there was an exhale on the other end, a soft surrender to the vulnerability that cocooned us. I'm so scared, and I can't bear the thought of putting you in danger. We fell into a tentative silence, the weight of our tangled emotions pressing down on both of us. What if we figure this out together? Just tell me where you are. Let me help. She hesitated, and I held my breath, hoping for a sliver of hope amid the heaviness. Meet me at Thompson Park in an hour. Please. I'll explain everything. I'll be there, I promised, my resolve igniting anew. I arrived at the park, the night cloaked in darkness but dotted with stars twinkling like distant promises. I paced beneath the gnarled branches, heart in my throat, eyes scanning the shadows that danced in the moonlight. Finally, she emerged, looking fragile and lost, yet so stunning in the dark as she stepped into the light. Ella, I breathed, my heart swelled as she approached, tears shimmering in her eyes. She was a contradiction of strength and fragility, and I longed to hold her, to shield her from whatever haunted her spirit. I am so sorry for everything, she started, her voice barely above a whisper as we stood beneath the ancient oak. You deserve the truth, but can you promise not to hate me? A chill snaked through the air as I took her hands in mine, grounding both of us in the moment despite the swirling uncertainty. I could never hate you, Ella. Just tell me. She inhaled deeply, and regret filled the space between us. I can't lose you, not again, not to the past. And just when I thought she might unveil the layers of her sorrow, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, stealing her attention. When she pulled it out, her face went pale, eyes wide with dread. What is it? I asked, panic rising in my chest. It's my brother, she muttered, shaking her head as guilt washed over her. He needs me. Before I could ask another question, she took off running, leaving me reeling beneath the stars. Every part of me screamed to follow her, to demand the answers that felt just out of reach. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just lost another piece of her forever beyond the threshold, plunging deeper into the shadows of a past I still couldn't comprehend. In that moment, I understood, the mystery of Ella was larger than our fragile connection, and whatever awaited us next would test the very fabric of our bond. As fear twisted in my gut, I knew this was only the beginning of a tangled web we had yet to unravel, and my heart raced at the thought of all that was still to come. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth as I stood alone in Thompson Park, the echo of Ella's footsteps fading into the distance. I clutched my phone, my heart pounding in a wild chaos that mirrored everything I felt in that moment. A sense of abandonment gripped me tightly, squeezing until I could hardly breathe. Why didn't she just tell me? Why run away instead of sharing her troubles? Each unanswered question twisted like a knife in my gut. I wanted to chase after her, to pull her back from whatever dark place she was headed, but fear held me immobile. It wasn't just my heart at stake, it was hers too, and I could feel the weight of her unvoiced fears pressing down on me. As I began to walk away from the park, my mind replayed the fragments of our conversation. There was so much left unsaid, so much that felt buried beneath layers of unspoken words. My phone buzzed again in the eerie silence, a reminder that life continued even as I floundered in my own turmoil. Another text from a friend, asking if I wanted to hang out, but it felt meaningless compared to what was unraveling. I decided to give her space. She needed time to process whatever trouble had tugged her away. All I could do was wait. So, I went home. I tried to distract myself with homework, but each question felt hollow without her light to guide me through. I picked up my guitar, strumming softly, letting the notes spill into the silence, hoping to catch her echoes in the music. The next few days drifted by in an agonizing haze. I still hadn't heard from Ella, and the gap she left yawned wide, threatening to swallow me whole. I felt lost adrift in a sea of confusion and worry. My friends tried to coax me into the usual weekend plans, but each attempt felt futile against the storm brewing in my chest. Then, a small flicker of hope came from an unexpected place. During lunch one day at school, I sat with my best friend, Jamie, who noticed my soulless eyes and heavy silence. She leaned in, her tone gentle but firm. "You can't just ignore this, you know. You need to talk about it. How can we help?" It felt uncomfortable to open up, but her genuine concern tugged at a thread of vulnerability I had buried deep. "I think Ella's in trouble," I admitted, my voice cracking under the gravity of my fears. "Something's going on, and she won't tell me what. I'm scared I'll lose her." Jamie's brow furrowed, a spark of understanding igniting in her eyes. "If it's serious, you have to do something. Maybe reach out to her family? They might know what's happening." I hadn't considered that. Fear twisted in my gut again, but Jamie's resolute attitude gave me a nudge toward action. After lunch, I excused myself and found a quiet spot near the art wing, assembling the courage to reach out to Ella's brother, Adam. My fingers trembled as I typed his number into my phone, and just as I was about to press call, a familiar voice called out behind me, "Hey, is everything okay?" I spun around to find Mia, a fellow student who shared a close bond with Ella. Her presence was warm, as if a protective bubble had formed around her. I hesitated, not wanting to burden her with my woes, but the concern etched on her face was undeniable. "In trying to figure out how to help Ella," I finally said, desperation lacing my voice. "She hasn't contacted me, and she just ran away." Mia's expression shifted from curiosity to compassion. "Ellie's dealing with a lot right now. You're not the only one worried about her. Why won't she let me in?" I felt the sting of frustration and betrayal, almost like salt on an open wound. Mia stepped closer, lowering her voice. "She's dealing with something from her past. Pressuring her may just push her further away." That revelation struck me like lightning. Ella's struggles weren't just about me, they were shadows of a life I had yet to understand. "Is there anything you can share?" I asked hopefully, desperate for just a fragment of understanding. Mia shook her head. "I can't deserve her privacy, you know? But if you really care about her, maybe give her some time. Let her know you're there, waiting." I just... My voice wavered. "I want to help her. Mia's expression softened. And you will. Just be patient. Keep the door open. With our conversation lingering in the air, I left Mia's side, feeling just a bit steadier though no less anxious about what lay ahead. That afternoon slipped into shadowed twilight, and with the sun dipping low, a resolve inside me solidified like tempered steel. I owed it to Ella to show her that I wouldn't turn away, that my door would always stand open for her. As I prepared to send what felt like an impossible message, one that laid my heart bare and extended my hand in unwavering support, I felt the buzz of a text from an unknown number. My heart sank with curiosity, dread weaving through my thoughts. I opened it cautiously, and my heart dropped. The message was simple, yet it screamed with urgency, "You need to get to Adam. Ella's in more trouble than you know." I stood frozen, the weight of the world crashing down around me. The urgency in those words pierced through the fog of uncertainty that had clouded my days. I felt the boundary cross, a defining moment thrust upon me where every choice from here would reverberate in our entwined fates. The cliff of fear loomed before me, a precipice from which I would either leap to save her or stand frozen, powerless in the face of impending darkness. Without a second thought, I grabbed my jacket and bolted from my house, my mind racing with the rising tide of dread. I had to get to Adam. I had to find out what Ella was hiding before it consumed her whole. The streets blurred by as I raced toward Adam's house, each step resonating with a pulse of urgency coursing through me. My mind raced with the implications of that cryptic message. What kind of trouble could Ella possibly be in? I pushed aside the dark thoughts that threatened to engulf me, focusing instead on the hope that I could make a difference. As the familiar streets zipped past, their faces were a mosaic of memories: playful laughter in the park, late-night conversations, the soft warmth of shared silences with Ella. But none of it prepared me for the storm that awaited. Arriving at Adam's house, I took a moment to catch my breath, my heart hammering against my ribcage like a caged animal desperate for escape. I knocked, each rap of my fist echoing my anxiety, until the door opened, revealing Adam's surprised face. His brows furrowed, and for a brief moment, the normal exchange of pleasantries faded away. "Is this about Ella?" he asked, his voice edged with concern. "Yeah, I got a message," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the tremor inside. "I heard she's in trouble." "What's going on?" Adam's gaze shifted, a shadow flickering over his features as he pulled me inside. The living room was dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls, mirroring the turmoil in my heart. "I don't know how much I should say," he sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "But she's been pulling away from everyone. The past, it's catching up to her." "What do you mean?" I pressed, my heart sinking further into my gut. I needed to understand. "She had a rough childhood," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's something she's always tried to keep hidden. I thought she was managing, but lately, it's like she's drowning. I've seen her slipping through my fingers." The words gnawed at me, unleashing a wave of guilt and helplessness. Ella had been fighting her battles silently while I was unaware, wrapped in my own worries. But why wouldn't she come to me? "I thought we were in this together." Adam looked pained, as if he too shared the burden of that unasked question. "She thinks she can handle it alone. She thinks telling you would only burden you more." "No," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "She could never be a burden. I love her." The admission slipped out, heavy and potent in the air between us. Adam's expression softened slightly. "I know," he nodded, and for a moment, an understanding passed between us. "But love isn't always enough to break the walls we've built around ourselves. Sometimes, we need someone to break them down for us." As the gravity of his words settled, the distant sound of laughter floated in from another room. It felt like a cruel reminder of how far removed Ella was from the life she deserved. Adam noticed my gaze and sighed again, his brown eyes filled with regret. "I thought she'd find happiness here with us, but I'm not sure how to reach her anymore. I can't lose her." The ache in my chest deepened, and the urgency of the moment propelled me forward. "We need to act. I'm not going to let her deal with this alone. But first, we need to find her." Adam nodded appreciatively, and together we hastily devised a plan to spread the word. As I moved through our circle of friends, piecing together fragments of Ella's recent behavior, a chilling sensation crept through the back of my mind. No one had seen her in days. Everything felt surreal, like a dark cloud loomed over our town. I pushed away the despair that threatened to consume my resolve and focused instead on finding her. Each person I spoke to, each face that mirrored the same concern, tugged at my heartstrings, igniting a flicker of hope buried beneath the weight of uncertainty. Hours later, after countless failure and frustration, as twilight began to settle, an unexpected message from Mia broke through the silence of my phone. "Meet me at the old bridge. I think I know where Ella is." The location sent sparks of dread coursing through me. Memories of that bridge flooded my mind, a reminder of whispered dreams and carefree laughter. Now, it felt more like a threshold to uncharted, dark waters. Without a second thought, I raced toward the bridge, praying I wasn't too late. When I arrived, the moonlit scene cast the bridge in silver, long shadows stretching out like arms beckoning me closer. I spotted Mia pacing nervously at the edge. "Did you find her?" I barely gasped, urgency making my insides twist. Mia shook her head, eyes wide with apprehension. "But I know she's been spending time near the old willow tree by the creek. She used to go there to think." Before I could respond, a distant voice echoed through the stillness, a fragile melody that struck a familiar chord deep within me. It was Ella, singing softly, her voice hauntingly beautiful yet laced with an undercurrent of pain. A surge of courage propelled me forward, and the weight of every word unsaid lingered like smoke in the air as we followed the sound. My heart raced as we drew closer, and I could see her silhouette beneath the sprawling branches of the willow, the moonlight illuminating the fragile lines of her face. Just as we stepped into her view, the haunting notes stopped abruptly, and she turned, shock mingling with a surge of emotions that flashed across her features. "What are you doing here?" Ella's voice cracked, breaking the profound silence surrounding us. I felt every breath in my lungs hitch as I took in the raw vulnerability displayed on her face. This was the moment I had anticipated yet feared. With each step toward her, I felt the ground shift beneath us, ready for the fracture of secrets to unfold. I came to find you," I stumbled, something more pressing anchoring me to the moment. "We're all worried, Ella. You don't have to hide from me." The air shifted, a chill creeping into the silence, a stark contrast to the warmth of our past. The unspoken fear hung heavy in the night, and a flicker of recognition ignited in her eyes. Then, without warning, Ella took a step back, and in that fragile moment, the weight of everything we hadn't yet confronted lingered like a specter between us. As the night darkened around us, I felt a new tremor of uncertainty settle in my heart. I knew the truth was beneath the surface, poised to erupt, but would it fracture us or bring us back together? The air crackled with tension, and I held my breath, teetering on the edge of what lay ahead, as the first whisper of the storm began to stir. The air became thick with an unspoken tension, stretching like a taut string ready to snap. Ella's eyes were wide, brimming with emotions that mirrored my own. The longing in my heart clashed painfully with the fear in her gaze. "Why did you come?" she whispered, almost frantically, as she toyed with the ends of her hair. "You shouldn't have. I'm not okay, and I didn't want you to see me like this." As her words hung in the space between us, I took a step closer, desperately wanting to bridge the gap that had formed between us. "Ella, you don't need to do this alone. Whatever it is, I can help. Please don't shut me out." Her laugh was hollow, a painful echo that reverberated through the night. "Help? I'm not sure you can, not with what you don't know." The shadows deepened around her, framing her face in a way that made my heart ache. I searched for the words, the right words that could shatter the barriers she had painstakingly built. "Ella, just tell me. Please. You've always had my back, I want to have yours too. Whatever is weighing you down, I want to bear that burden with you," she faltered, her breath hitching as she looked away, fixing her gaze on the willow tree that swayed gently beside her. It was as if they were intertwined in their fragility, each a reflection of the other. "It's not that simple, and you don't understand what it feels like. I'm afraid of what this will mean for us." "Then let me in," I pleaded, my voice soft, steady. "Let me share that fear. Don't push me away." The world around us faded, and the tension spiraled into an anxious silence. For a long moment, her voice remained trapped, suspended in the air, and I felt the weight of the universe bearing down. Just as I thought she might surrender, tears spilled from her eyes, glimmering in the moonlight like shattered glass. Once, I had a family, and everything fell apart. I thought I could outrun it, but it's always been there, just beneath the surface. Every night I go to sleep terrified it will come back to claim me, that I will lose everything again. I can't put you through that. My heart shattered at her words, each syllable a painful reminder of the battles she fought alone. Ella, you're not that broken little girl anymore. You're strong, you're fighting to overcome this. And I paused, licking my dry lips. I love you. You can't just dismiss that. Ella shook her head, her hands trembling as she reached toward me, then pulled back as if afraid of her own reflection. And what if I can't be what you want? What if you wake up one day and realize I'm still that scared girl hiding in the shadows? I took a deep breath, heart thundering in my chest. Tell me what I can do. Let me help you find your light again. As I reached for her hand, she froze, and everything around us seemed to come to a standstill. The faint rustle of leaves, the gurgling of the creek below, each noise echoed as if the world was holding its breath alongside us. But then a sudden crash reverberated from the edge of the creek, drawing both our gazes away. I stepped away instinctively, my heart leaping into my throat. The shadows by the water morphed into shapes, and just beyond the willows, a figure stumbled out, a man, wild-eyed and drenched in mud, panic written all over his face. Ella. I've been looking everywhere. He shouted, his voice a harsh intrusion into our fragile bubble. The moment shattered around us, and I felt the air thicken with anxiety. Ella went pale, and a different kind of fear flickered in her eyes, a familiar terror that seemed to pull her further into the dark depths. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. She gasped, the color draining from her face as she backed away from both me and the newcomer. The man approached slowly, his brow slick with sweat. We need to talk now. It's not safe. I felt the sting of betrayal claw at my chest. Who was this man, and why did he hold such sway over her? Ella's reaction told me everything I needed to know. Ella, who is he? I demanded, an unfamiliar edge creeping into my voice, each heartbeat amplifying my growing anxiety. She glanced between us, her expression a tangled mess of fear and turmoil. I can't, please, just go. The man reached out, desperation lacing his voice. You have to listen to me. They're coming for you. They know you're here. In that moment, the precarious balance of our fragile reconciliation crumbled. I watched in horror as Ella turned rigid, the shadow swallowing her whole. What have I gotten myself into? She whispered, more to herself than to us, and I felt the ground shift beneath us once more, everything unraveling like a thread pulled too taut. The revelation hung heavy in the air, wrapping around us like a noose, binding us to whatever darkness lingered just beyond the edge. I felt my heart break at the thought of Ella being endangered by secrets she had tried to bury, by a past that refused to fade. As she trembled, caught between the past and present, I could see her world begin to shatter again. The only question remained: would we have the strength to face it together, or would the shadows drag us both under into an abyss from which we might never return? The night felt like it was stretching into eternity, an unrelenting darkness enveloping us as any flickers of hope began to dim. Ella's breaths came in quick, frantic gasps, and the panic I felt was palpable, a tangible weight pressing down on my chest. What do you mean they're coming for her? I snapped at the man, my voice trembling with anger and worry. Who are you? He hesitated, casting a glance at Ella, whose eyes were wide, reflecting a mix of dread and despair. My name is Kyle, he said, his voice barely above a whisper now. I'm here to help you, Ella, but we don't have much time. Help? By barging in like this? You think this is helping? I shouted, involuntarily stepping between him and her as if I could shield her from whatever shadow loomed over us. Yes, by getting you out of here. Kyle's voice rose an octave, the urgency seeping into each word. Please, Ella, we can't let them find you. Deeper still, something vile twisted in the pit of my stomach as I registered the look on Ella's face, a look of defeat, of recognition, that chilled me to the bone. The silhouette of this Kyle seemed to loom larger, darkening what little light remained in her eyes. No. I'm not going anywhere with you," she shouted, her resolve rising like a dam breaking. "You brought this to me. You don't get to decide for me anymore," but he took a step forward, and her determination faltered as she trembled upon the realization. "There's no other choice, Ella. They're connected to your past, and they won't stop until they find you. I just need you to trust me. Now, please." I turned back to her, desperate to reach the parts of her that had once flourished in the sunlight. "Ella, please. Just tell me what's happening. We can face it together, I promise. I won't let anyone hurt you." Tears streamed down her cheeks, glimmering in the faint moonlight, and in that moment, I felt a chasm of fear between us grow even wider. I can't do this to you," she replied, each word as heavy as a door slamming shut. "You don't understand. You don't know what they want." Kyle stepped back, throwing his arms up in surrender. "I don't know what you think I brought into your life, Ella, but the truth is, they're hunting you because they fear what you can become if you embrace your power." Power? The word hung in the air, unsettling it even further. My pulse quickened. "Ella, what is happening? What power? You have to tell me." She swallowed hard, her hands balling into fists at her sides. "I thought I could forget," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought I could run away from it. But I can't escape who I am, or what I can do, and neither can you." "And what can we do?" I whispered, the weight of her confession crushing down on me. "What does this mean? Who is hunting you?" The world around us seemed to fade away as Ella's eyes locked onto mine, a whirlwind of emotion swirling between us. "They're coming for you too, if they find out you're with me." A loud crack echoed through the stillness as a branch snapped somewhere in the distance, and Ella recoiled, pushing against the mossy bark of the tree as if it could shield her. "I have to go," she gasped. "No. You can't just leave." I reached out for her, panic flaring through me as she took a step back, her body rigid. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, desperately trying to hold on to her as she edged closer to the edge. "Look at me, Ella." I dropped my voice to a softer tone, trying to break through the immovable wall she had constructed. "I love you. Whatever you're running from, I want to face it with you. Please don't walk away." Tears blurred her vision, making her even more ethereal in the moonlight, but just as she seemed ready to break, Kyle interjected once more, his tone now laced with concern. "Ella, they won't give you the chance. If you stay, they will come for both of you." In that moment, I saw the resolve shift in her gaze, a flicker of hope crashing against the walls of despair. "Then we need to figure this out, together," she whispered, her heartbeat echoing in my own chest. But before I could react, another sound, a rustling from the nearby brush that sent a surge of dread through our bodies. Kyle's eyes widened, and he turned sharply. "We don't have time." An ear-splitting screech pierced the stillness, reverberating through the night like a waking nightmare, and I clutched at Ella's arm, my mind racing with terror. "What was that?" Kyle's face paled. "They've found us. Ella, we have to run now." In a single breath, I felt all the warmth between us fade as I disentangled my fingers from hers, aware of the gravity of the choice she was facing. "Ella, what will you do?" Her eyes locked onto mine, a cascade of emotions tumbling like waterfalls, each pulling me deeper into her turmoil. "I don't know." But her words were swallowed by the approaching menace, and Kyle turned, already sprinting toward the tree-line. "Come on!" he shouted as he surged into the darkness, and I could see Ella's hesitation, the fear shadowing her face. Just like that, her choice lay bare between us: run into the unknown shadows beside a stranger or face the looming terror by my side. At that moment, my heart thundered, and I reached out, desperate to pull her back to me. But before I could speak, Ella took a shaky breath, her determination hardening. With a glance at Kyle, she made her choice, and as she stepped into the darkness, I stepped back, a crack widening between us, my soul splintering at the sight of her retreating form. The night closed in again, the shadows whispering secrets that promised to unravel everything I knew, as I stood helplessly, my heart clamoring against the rising tide of fear that enveloped us all. The shadows seemed to swallow Ella whole as she rushed after Kyle, her silhouette evaporating into the dark. A heavy silence fell, broken only by the rapid thudding of my heart and the fading rustle of their hurried footsteps. I stood rooted, the chill of the night creeping into my bones, disoriented by the whirlwind of emotions that clawed at my insides, fear, anger, and an unbearable sense of loss. Ella! I shouted, desperation leaking into my voice. The name echoed in the emptiness, a plea against the encroaching darkness. But the only response was the rustle of leaves, whispering lies of a path I could not follow. I was left behind, pinned under the weight of uncertainty. The scream that had reverberated through the air still hung heavy in my ears, a siren heralding the doom that loomed just beyond the trees. With a shaky breath, I stepped forward, feeling the cold clawing at my back like fingers urging me to flee. But the thought of leaving without Ella was unbearable. How could I run? How could I abandon her to whatever dangers Kyle had alluded to? Every second stretched taut, a wound waiting to rip open. The connections we shared were stitched together in soft whispers and moments of laughter. I couldn't simply let them unravel into the night. I turned and ran, heart pounding with each instinct-driven beat toward the tree line that had swallowed them both. As I plunged into the thicket, the branches snagged at my clothes and skin as if trying to stop me. But the louder, more persistent voice was the ache of missing her. Ella! I called again, my breath coming faster, the panic surging through me like a wild river. The underbrush crunched beneath my feet, the shadows around me thickening and forbidding. It was sinister, haunted by the echoes of a past I was only beginning to understand. I could feel a sense of betrayal creeping in, mingling with my love for her. What power was Kyle talking about? What had Ella hidden from me? Ella! A soft cry finally reached my ears, familiar yet tinged with urgency. I pressed forward, the relief of her voice igniting a flicker of hope within me. The trees parted as I stumbled through, and there before me was a clearing bathed in silvery luminescence, where moonlight spilled over the scene like spilled ink. Ella stood there, hands trembling, the rawness of her emotions painted across her face. Kyle was by her side, his expression fierce, watchful. But there was something unyielding in Ella's gaze that held me captive. It spoke of struggles and decisions made in haste. Are you okay? I breathed, my voice hoarse as I approached, dread curling at the edges of my heart. She turned to me, and in that moment, I saw both the strength and fragility within her. I tried to warn you, she murmured, pain lacing her words. But the things I'm running from, you wouldn't understand. I need to understand. I pleaded, frustration boiling beneath the surface. Ella, whatever this is, don't shut me out. You're not alone in this, her eyes shimmered, reflecting a battle within. You don't know the danger. I can't let them use you to get to me. I can't. With a suddenness that took my breath away, Kyle stepped forward, his voice cutting through our moment. They need to go, and you need to decide, Ella. This is bigger than us. My heart sank as I faced the truth in his words. I watched Ella wrestle with decisions that felt monumental, the very essence of who she was, tangled in the web of secrecy woven around her life. She was fighting against something none of us could comprehend, and yet, I wanted so desperately to be a part of that fight. Ella, listen to me, I said, moving closer. Whatever you're facing, we can do this together. I love you, and I won't let you carry this weight alone. Her gaze flickered to me, a silent struggle etched across her features. For a heartbeat, time hesitated as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for her response. And then, the stillness shattered. A piercing cry echoed from deep within the woods behind us, a raw, guttural scream that sent shards of ice racing down my spine. Kyle's expression shifted, urgency igniting every line of his posture. They're coming. We have to move. Panic surged in my chest as Ella's eyes darted nervously between Kyle and me, fear igniting a spark of uncertainty that pulled at my heartstrings. What do I do? She whispered. Run. Kyle shouted. They'll be on us in seconds. Ella, don't hesitate. Before I could act, I watched as Ella's resolve crystallized. She turned to Kyle, and her voice was steady, defiant. No, I won't run away again. Not this time. The conviction in her words struck me dumb, and I froze as the impact of her choice rolled over me like a tidal wave. The scream echoed again, closer this time, shredding through the last vestiges of calm within our world. Ella, please. My voice cracked, desperation gripping me tight. Don't do this alone. But she stepped forward, shoulders squared, and for the first time I saw something bright, something powerful unfolding within her, the courage to confront the shadows that had stolen so much from her. I'll face them, and if they want me, they can come for me, she declared, turning resolutely to the dark maze of trees. As fear scraped at my insides, terror wove itself into anger. Ella! No! The weight of my desperate shout echoed against the night, and before I could grasp the situation, the air shifted around us, thick with the scent of danger. She looked back one last time, her eyes pools of uncertainty mingling with defiance. You have to trust me. Then she turned and barreled toward the darkness, running straight into the arms of whatever lay ahead. Panic exploded inside me, propelling me forward. Ella! I called out, but as I pursued, my heart crumbled, knowing the path she had chosen might forever sever us from the love we had fought so hard to protect. In that split second, the ground shook beneath us, a woeful reminder of the choices we were forced to make. The trees creaked as the night swelled with unseen forces, and I crashed through the underbrush, desperate to reach her before the darkness could take her away for good. But as I stumbled into the clearing, a shocking revelation smacked me like a fist to the gut. I wasn't alone. Looming behind me were shadows I had thought long forgotten, and they were hungry for everything I held dear. The darkness of the forest closed in around me, the weight of Ella's resolute choice hanging heavily in the air as I chased after her fading silhouette. My thoughts turned wildly, fear mingling with desperation. Every step I took felt heavier, each rustle of the underbrush a reminder of the stakes involved. Ella had chosen to confront her demons instead of running. A choice filled with bravery, but also with the potential to tear us apart forever. Please, Ella. I whispered to the wind, each word laced with a potency that threatened to choke me. As if the world was listening, the heavens rumbled softly, a distant echo that seemed to mirror my turmoil. With every stride, the shadows deepened, swirling with an unnerving malevolence that felt alive. A gut-wrenching scream echoed from the trees ahead, freezing me in place. It was a sound layered with pain and rage, it clawed at the very essence of my being. My mind raced, visions of Ella caught in a struggle, battling against forces I didn't understand. Suddenly, a warm hand clasped my shoulder. I spun, startled, to find Kyle standing beside me, his expression edged with urgency. We have to go, he urged, voice low, eyes darting toward the tree line. They'll be here any second, but Elish is in there. I protested, fear surging like wildfire through my veins. I feared for her safety, but deeper than that was the fear of her facing this alone. I can't just leave her. Kyle shook his head, grim determination dripping from every word. And you think charging in there will save her? You won't get through them alone. We need to regroup. We lack a real plan, and this only leads to more people getting hurt. His words struck a chord, setting off conflicting emotions. I had never wanted to be the kind of person who turned away when someone I loved needed help, but the reality of our situation loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to swallow us whole. The scream echoed once more, but this time, it was intertwined with another sound, a whisper of hope. Just beyond the trees, from the direction I knew Ella had gone, I heard a voice soft, but unmistakably hers. I'll fight. I won't let them take me. A flicker of warmth blossomed in my chest against the sweeping waves of fear. She was fighting. That was Ella, steadfast and unyielding. But then another thought crashed down upon me. What if her fight led her to become lost in the darkness forever? Kyle, I need to help her. I need to know she's okay. I implored, taking a step toward the direction of the chaos, fierce resolve battling against the clutches of doubt and fear. Then we need to be smart about it, Kyle said, his tone gentle but firm. If we go in there without a plan, we could drive her away or lead them right to her. We have to be clever. We gather support, make sure she's surrounded by allies. She needs all the strength we can muster on her side. Support? Allies? My mind reeled as I thought of the people we could reach out to, ones who had seen the truth about Ella, who believed in her. But how do we even start? There are others. Others who know the darkness that's after her. We can't underestimate them, but we also can't forget that they might still see us as enemies, Kyle replied. Just because you love her doesn't mean they care whether you get caught in the crossfire. Caught in a storm of emotions, collapsing despair met budding hope. Each revelation we shared, every plan we concocted, pulled me from the depths of uncertainty. But just then, a flicker of movement in the trees caught my eye. I squinted through the shadows as a figure stepped forward, cloaked in remnants of night, a silhouette that seemed hauntingly familiar. Confusion wrangled within my heart, blending with anger and fear. Who were they? Had they come to help us? Or were they part of the darkness threatening to consume Ella? As the figure advanced into the light, recognition settled on my chest like a weight. It was her, a woman I hadn't seen in years, a woman who had been part of the world surrounding all of us. My mother. Stay back! I shouted, heart racing, not knowing whether to run toward her or away. Memories flooded back of secrets buried deep in our family, whispers from my childhood that now echoing loudly in my mind. Please. Her voice shook, woven with urgency, and something else that caused uncertainty to spiral through me. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because Ella is in danger. We need to protect her. Shivers crawled down my spine as I processed the weight of her words. What connection could she possibly have to Ella's plight? What had she hidden from me all these years? It felt as if the earth had shifted beneath my feet, tearing fissures in my grip on reality. As my mother stepped closer, shadows coiling around her like tendrils yearning for warmth, I was struck with a revelation as astonishing as it was terrifying. This was only the beginning of the truth unraveling, and I had stumbled into something much larger than myself, something that could fracture everything I believed in and everyone I loved. Every choice we make now, my mother continued, trembling yet unwavering. It makes all the difference. We can't waste a moment. Ella needs us, needs your strength. We have to save her. But as I met her desperate gaze, dread coiled around my heart. No matter how fast I ran, we were racing against an encroaching darkness I had yet to fully comprehend. My choice echoed in the silence between us, to trust here or to turn away, and the distance to Ella grew ever farther, each heartbeat winding tighter around our fates. The air thickened with tension, and I felt as if the very shadows around us were waiting with bated breath. My mother's presence was a jarring reminder of the secrets buried in dust and memory, and the weight of her plea bore down on me like lead. Your strength, she repeated, her voice urgent yet tinged with something softer, and unfamiliar tenderness that had once been shattered. Ella needs to know she's not alone. I wanted to scream, to demand answers about the years of silence and neglect. The embers of old wounds flared with renewed vigor at the thought of so many lost moments, consequences of the uncharted terrain of our family history. But Ella, she was the priority now. Why do you care? The words broke from my lips, laced with hurt. Where were you all those years? Her face shifted, an array of expressions flitting across her features: regret, sorrow, a flicker of guilt. I made choices, unwise choices. But I know the darkness, and it is not your fight alone anymore. Not when her life hangs in the balance. The conviction in her eyes pierced through my anger, nudging at the edges of my resolve. I swallowed hard, feeling the clash of unyielding loyalty and longing for the mother I had lost. What do you know about Ella? I asked, each word a careful map through a minefield of past grievances. More than you can imagine, she said quietly, her gaze shifting momentarily to the darkened tree line, the shadows there seeming to pulse with a life of their own. She is caught between worlds, and they will do anything to claim her. There are forces at work, and they are more powerful than you think. Ella is a beacon for the lost, and they crave that light. A shiver ran through me at the revelation. A beacon? You mean this is bigger than just her? She nodded, the weight of her acknowledgement echoing like thunder. Yes. If we don't act quickly, they'll consume her. The forest around us felt suddenly alive, leaves rustling as if they conspired to whisper secrets I could barely fathom. I felt my heart race, a mix of desperation and an innate sense of duty. Ella's voice echoed faintly in my thoughts. I won't let them take me. This was no longer simply about love or friendship, it had morphed into an all-encompassing battle between light and darkness, hope and despair. Then let's move, I said, firming my voice though my pulse raced. We have to find allies. We can't face this alone. A flicker of surprise crossed my mother's face. Perhaps she hadn't expected me to bridge the chasm of our past so readily, but urgency swept away hesitation. Just as we began to retrace our steps, a sudden rustling erupted from the shadows, causing us both to freeze. The dark figure emerged, the one who I had yet to see clearly, now stepping out of the obscurity with purpose. It was a man, tall and imposing, a certain grace to his movements that felt threatening in the stillness. My breath hitched. I was torn between wanting to flee and an innate recognition that perhaps this man was a part of the answer we sought. "I see you've gathered your strength," he said, voice smooth but edged with a cold amusement. "But do you really think the likes of you can protect her?" "Who are you?" I demanded, stepping protectively in front of my mother. "I'm a friend," he replied, that same unsettling smirk on his lips. "At least, I will be if you make the right choice." Frustration flared inside me. And what would that choice be? Surrender? Silence? He stepped closer, eyes glinting. "The choice, dear boy, is always yours. But know this, the darkness is relentless, and it will devour anyone who stands in its way. Ella's struggle is a dance with shadows, and you do not want to be caught in the crossfire. I can help you." "Help? Or betray?" I shot back. His laughter echoed, deep and unsettling. "Trust is a dangerous game. Your little band of allies cannot hope to master the dark forces unless they understand what motivates them. But I can offer you insights, the kind of truths that will lead you to her, if you choose to accept my guidance." I felt my heart race. I wanted to say no to demand he disappear into the night. But the urgency clung to me, a chill creeping into my bones as I glanced back at my mother, who stood quietly, exhausted yet alert. What if he really could help? What if this moment was our only chance to reach Ella before it was too late? "Why should I trust you?" I finally asked, each word a gamble in the balance between hope and despair. "Because," he said, leaning closer, "the darkness has more than one face, and one of them might be closer than you think." A shiver of fear danced down my spine. What did he mean? Who lurked in the shadows, concealed from view, waiting for the right moment to strike? Each beat of my heart was a countdown, mirroring the ticking clock against our desperate search, but now it echoed with a chilling uncertainty about who truly stood alongside me. Love I felt for Ella still blazing bright, but everything else began to blur, teetering on the edge of revelation and betrayal. And as I locked eyes with this unfamiliar figure, the truth seemed to stretch into the night. Darkness was not just the enemy, it might also be the very thing lurking within the hearts of those I thought I could trust. The world around me expanded, unfurling with choices, each one a thread weaving deeper into the tapestry of fate, sending me spiraling into an abyss of uncertainty. The silence that followed felt infinite as I processed the man's words, the heaviness of his revelation settling like an iron weight on my heart. The shadows around us seemed to pulse with life, each breath I took filled with a growing urgency. I felt the watchful eyes of the darkness upon us, pressing in closer. Ella, she was out there, fighting her own battle, and every second we wasted could mean the difference between hope and despair. "What's the catch?" I asked finally, my voice low and steady. The weight of the world pressed upon my shoulders, but I refused to show weakness. "Why would you help us? What do you gain from this?" His smile widened, a mix of arrogance and amusement twisting his features. "I seek only to align myself with those whose destinies intertwine with the shadows. In helping you, I serve my own interest, a mutual exchange, if you will." His voice dripped with a tone that felt familiar, yet sent a shiver skittering up my spine. "Enough of the riddles!" I shouted, frustration boiling over as adrenaline coursed through me. "What do you want?" He tilted his head, considering me for a long moment before he spoke again. "The power within Ella is a force to be reckoned with. Find her, and ensure her allegiance to our cause, mine and my circle's. In return, I can protect her from those who wish to wield her for their own dark purposes. Think of it as a bargain. You secure her trust, and in turn, you ensure both your survival." The clarity of my decision crystallized within me. I could see the pieces of a plan forming like stars igniting in a vast, dark sky, shimmering with the potential to either save or doom every soul involved. A part of me wanted to reject him outright. Everything he stood for felt tainted, but the truth lingered heavily. The darkness was not just a phantom threat, it was real and dangerously close. You want me to convince Ella to formalize an alliance with you and whatever sick ambitions you harbor, I said, my tone low and measured. But what happens when she inevitably refuses? He chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. Then I wouldn't recommend standing in my way. The shadows have a way of making things unpleasant for those who oppose them. I swallowed hard, shaken by the implications of his warning. If I wanted to save Ella, the path forward would require navigating treacherous waters filled with deception and hidden motives. And as much as I wanted to decline his offer and fight for Ella's trust without weaponizing our bond, the harsh reality of the situation bore down on met his maybe our only chance. The choice twisted within me, a physical ache that kept my heart in an agonizing grip. I caught sight of my mother's anxious expression, the flicker of hope battling against the dark cloud looming above us. She had been lost in her own shadows, struggling against the past, yet here she stood, a reminder of everything I had endured, everything I wanted to protect. If I refused, we could lose everything. Let's say I agree, I said finally, my voice steady. What do I need to do? The man smiled knowingly. You will need to find a way to draw her out, to entice her. The darkness lurking within her fears is what keeps her at bay. Light will be your weapon. Show her the strength of your love and remind her of what she's fighting for. If you can do that, we will have her allegiance nearly within our grasp. With that, Kyle's features flickered in the moonlight, less a stranger and more a shadow in his own right, and for the briefest moment, I wondered if there were not more ties between my family and the darkness that surrounded Ella than I had ever known. I took a deep breath, fueling my resolve. Then let's go, I said, turning to my mother, who clasped my hand tight, an anchor amidst the rising tide of chaos. We need a plan. We have to find her. Together, we dashed into the night and back into the murky woods, following the echoes of each footfall that led us toward the unknown. It felt surreal, a dissonance between purpose and dread, but one truth anchored me against the current: I would find Ella. I would remind her of the light she held within, and we would face the darkness together. Time melted away as we plunged into uncharted territory. Each moment felt heavy with anticipation, and I could only hope that beneath the shadows of her past lay the courage she needed to rise against whatever entrenched chaos awaited her. Then, suddenly, a haunting echo reached my Ursa voice, familiar yet distant. I paused, eyes wide. Ella. Out of the trees emerged a scene that felt like a dream shadowed by reality. There she stood, fragile yet fierce, defiant against the encroaching darkness that swirled in the air around her. Her eyes, red from tears, sparked with determination. I won't let them take me, she shouted, tossing her head back against the night, a beacon of light battling the gathering storm. Every breath I took felt like a lifeline tugging me closer. I wanted to sweep her away from the grasping shadows and pull her back into the warmth of my embrace. Ella. I called, knowing my heart could beat louder than any fear that threatened to engulf us. It was then that I saw him. Kyle was right beside her, and something deep inside me crackled with rage at his proximity to her. I imagined the darkness that painted his aura and the lies that dripped from his lips, yet I couldn't deny that he had been the one offering insight, a path toward understanding the very chaos we faced. But was I willing to share the love we had forged within our fragile moments with anyone, especially him? And as if sensing my turmoil, Ella's gaze locked onto mine, cutting through the shadows surrounding us like a lighthouse in a stormy sea. You came back, she exclaimed, hope and relief flooding her features. My heart soared, but it was quickly anchored by the truth we had yet to confront. Of course I came back, I shouted, feeling the warmth of her spirit collide with the darkening storm swirling around us. You know I'll always fight for you. But right now, we need to be together, all of us against whatever else is lurking in the dark. Her resolve faltered, a glimmer of fear dancing behind her eyes. You don't know what you're asking, what you're risking. Then tell me, I pleaded, urgency knotted tight around my heart. We can face it. Together, the tension between us tightened, and for a moment, I could see the battle within Hera's struggle that had pushed us apart before now bringing us back together. Then the figure behind her, Kyle, spoke up, his voice smooth, irritable. It's time to choose, Ella. The darkness will not wait for you to sort out your emotions. Ella flinched at his words, and I stepped protectively toward her. She doesn't need to choose between love and darkness, I spat, looking straight at him. She can choose to rise above it. The shadows writhed around us, anticipation hanging heavy in the air, but Ella took a step forward, closer to me than ever before. You're right, she said, her voice small yet fierce. I will rise above it. And in that moment, the weight of our choices converged, the crossroads where darkness met the promise of light, and together we took that first step toward reclaiming everything that had been taken from us. With the moon above as our witness, we thrust ourselves forward into the maelstrom of truth that awaited, committed to unraveling every shadow that dared to claim us, forging bonds that would, perhaps, extinguish the darkness that had cast its pall over our lives. As the world shifted around us, I felt an unfamiliar surge of strength, a promise that regardless of what lay ahead, together we would bring the light. Everything was intertwined now, no longer caught in comforting memories or distant whispers of despair, but rooted firmly in the sheer power of love that surged between us, unwavering and bright. Together, I whispered, holding her gaze, feeling every ounce of resolve forged in this moment. As long as we have each other, we can face anything. And with those words echoing in the closeness of the night, I knew that we were ready to stand against whatever darkness threatened our future, hearts poised at the edge of a battle fought not just for survival but for love, a love destined to shine eternal. Together, we faced the shadows hand in hand, our spirits intertwined, and in that moment, I understood, love, even in the darkest of places, always has the power to illuminate the path ahead.